finally got an interview for the dream job, and after working with him, I got it, and it was simple and it was easy.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the journey.
Oh, has it helped? Yes, it absolutely has. It's definitely helped in knowing the market a lot better and knowing how to how to put myself out there. Like, I would never ever have touched my LinkedIn ever. I didn't see LinkedIn as a valuable resource at all. Yes. So in saying that, it already has proven to be.
Really what I say. I think you guys are great and change people's lives, and it makes a lot of difference.
You deliver at a very high level.
It was really enjoyable. You learn a lot. It was really easy going step by step.
You did? Questions before Wendy do. So that was, I think session 5, the interview session, if you ask me, was my favorite out of all the 6 sessions.
So it's not only helped me in my personal branding, but it's helped me now on the business side, where I feel very, very capable to go into, you know.
Hey, super legends, superheroes, and superstars. My name's Dre, and welcome to another episode of the Hot Hire podcast. We are live on YouTube, live on Facebook, and live on LinkedIn. And I just want to say, boom, boom, shake the room. So I'm very excited about today's guest. Before I introduce her, there's about a 20-second delay. So if you guys are watching live, let me know where you're from and put in your favorite emoji. If you're watching the replay, you know what to do. Hashtag replay, and oh man, grab yourselves a cup of tea, cup of coffee, some biscuits, and also a shovel and maybe a submarine, because we are going to go deep today. So my next guest, Emily Anger, we caught up a few weeks ago, and she was kind enough to give up her time to help me with some research. And actually, we're in the same mastermind as well. So I'm really excited about that. So without any further ado, I want to give a big, massive, ginormous, huge welcome to Emily Anger.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you for being here. So I've been really looking forward to this. So I know that on our conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago, oh man, just so much gold, and hearing your story and your transformation. And because you're a body transformation coach, you were saying it's not just about the body, it's also about the mind and the spirit. So I'd love you to be able to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so my name is Emily. Do you start with the boring stuff, or do you start with the other stuff?
Right, let's go.
Where I'm from, how old I am, and what I love doing on my free time.
Right, I want to hear that. Yes.
Stuff, right?
Yeah. So, because you're living in.
Right now, I'm in Sweden, but I only returned last year after 12 years abroad. So my accent is a little bit of a Londoner accent. Lived in London for about 10 years. Lived in Sydney for about a year and a bit. And I lived in LA when I was 19. So I went from having a really LA accent to I'm a Londoner now. And yeah, I was an aspiring musician who turned into a personal trainer, who I guess through my own struggles became heavily aware of the power of the mind, because I started to ask a lot of questions of why why do I feel this way? Why is my life this way? Why is my relationship to others this way? Why is my relationship to food, my body? Why? So I started just to ask all of these questions, and I didn't have the answers. But I know that there are a lot of smart people out there, and there are a lot of anciently smart people. So I turned to philosophy to start off with, and I read a lot of books. I remember reading, I went deep into the Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and like all these big boys. And I just resonated so much with their message in like the simplified way of living and what actually matters. And they just had this eloquent way of talking about life that for me, it just made total sense. And from there, I thought, okay, so this is a start. And I just started to read a lot of books. Like I introduced myself to self-help books and motivational speakers and, whatnot. So who am I? I am a person who now live life from a place of acceptance of who I was, but I see who I was and what I felt as my biggest strength, because it's the power of, in that I actually connect with people and can actually help people. So I just see myself as like a vessel of helping others. So that's kind of what I see. Like, I don't know if that's like a martyr way of talking about myself, but I don't see my purpose on this world in any other way than to actually help other people.
Man, I love that. All right, so we need to take this back. So I want to know, where did the body transformation come into it? So how did that all come about?
Absolutely. So I started out as a personal trainer, and quite early on, I actually was quite confident because the weight training transformed me in a deep level. So I actually had confidence, and I had traveled the world on my own. So I had built a lot of self-belief that I was capable. I always knew that I wasn't the best in the room, but I was capable and I had the right heart in what I was doing. But I applied for this job in London, and it was seen as one of the most prestigious PT jobs, body transformations, really luxurious, high end. And I got the job, and I was the only woman in this team of 23. And in my junior year, as it was called, it was a really tough year. We had to spend about 70 hours in the gym, and that was every week for a year. And one of the requisites in there, and bear in mind, it was a very alpha, a lot of people probably juicing and putting steroids in their bodies, and there was a lot of that type of environment. So for me, being a woman, and I'm very petite, I had to inflate and become my masculine self, which I'm confident in, but I think that I had to bring it to such a big extreme of alpha woman that I kind of lost a little bit touch of who I was inside, because I felt that I had to put on this show so that I wasn't going to be eaten up and not given opportunities and not getting my promotion, etc. But one of the requisites to get a promotion was to do our own body transformation. And this is really where everything changed for me. I was never the fat kid. In fact, I was the skinny kid. And I had put some muscle on because I trained for several years. And I obviously I wasn't lean as you would think, as I have been now. And I'm leaner now than I probably was then as well. But we had to do our transformation, and everything changed because I got amazing results in 14 weeks. But I felt dead inside. I had literally killed myself inside, both health-wise and my relationship to self. My period stopped quite early on, and I became super neurotic around food, to the point that I started binging. And I binged in secret for a very long time. And I remember I was feeling so guilty, and I had so much shame in my body for it, that I felt like the most lonely person, because I didn't want to admit that I had a problem with food, because I was the epitome of health. I was the one helping others. And there I was coming home at night crying and eating and not really understanding what was going on. And yeah, it was a really tough time. And from there, that's really where I started to ask those better questions of like, why? There must be a different way of doing this. You can't lose weight and have an unhealthy mind. You can't go through the journey of weight loss and lose yourself in it. And I realized that because I hated myself when I was my leanest, and I did not find myself attractive. So I was really confused by the thought of how can you look so good but feel like the worst one. And that's when I went into this of like, you have to work on your self-love, your self-worth, and really connect to like your deepest core self as you're going through weight loss. So I still do weight loss with people, but I do it now because I know that there is a different way. I did about a year later, after healing my binge eating, after putting quite a bit of weight on, because I obviously was binging and I was scared of dieting. So I didn't want to go into a diet, even though I was always, which I recognize in a lot of people now, you're always dieting because you're either thinking that you should diet or you're dieting. So there's like, you're always dieting because it's consuming your energy. But a year later, I signed up to a competition and I competed in a fitness competition, and the prep that I did was night and day. I literally felt amazing all the way through, and I never rebounded. I never even once had like this feeling of I'm losing my shit. I can't do this, and this is, you're harming yourself, because that's what I was feeling the first one, that I was suffering, that I was harming myself, that I hated what I was doing. I was a victim. My epiphany moment. Should I share it?
Yes, please do. Yeah.
So my epiphany moment, apart from realizing that I had a problem, because the problem is that people don't know that they have a problem often. But I went home for midsummer that summer and celebrated it with my family. And I remember I was sitting at my dad's house with my whole family, and I was eating like probably 8 times more than everyone else. I remember there was like some pates or something, and I ate 8 of them, where other people ate 1. And then I ate 8 pates of beef. And I was sitting there and I was leaning back and I felt drunk. I was like so groggy, and like my mind was like in a haze. And then they put out the strawberry cream cake on the table. And I remember freaking out because I felt this, I was so full. I felt so bad in my body. Yet I felt like the cake was talking to me. And of course I ate it. And then I ate cream that was on the side. And I was like, okay, I have a problem. And that's my epiphany moment number 1, of like realizing that I have a problem. And epiphany moment number 2 is when I read this quote by Marcus Aurelius, and I'll paraphrase it for you because I don't know them exactly, but basically he said, choose not to feel pain and you haven't been hurt. And the way that I just translated it was that, okay, so if I choose to not feel suffering when dieting, then I'm not suffering. If I choose to not look at my body in a bad way, then I don't have a bad body image. So it just started to like unravel in my mind. And obviously this was just the unraveling. And I just started to look, and even because I loathed being in my workplace, like literally I resigned and they kept me on, and I was like, and they moved me to another facility. And I remember that the biggest epiphany in that was, no one forced me to diet. I choose to diet. Yes, it was a requisite, but no one took my food away. I choose to do it. Yeah. And the same as being in that place, no one forced me to be there. I chose to show up every day. And for me, that changed everything, because all of a sudden it put the power back in my hands, that I had a choice to eat. I had a choice to go and leave that job. And only by realizing that power, everything else became more bearable. Because I knew that it was my choice. So
All about
yeah.
decisions. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So if we can take a step back, can you tell me about your childhood? Because I was reading a bio, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and you mentioned that you went through some like bullying. So I want to find out if that's had an effect on your life. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood and bullying?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was 12, and I want to go back, like I was one of the popular girls before that. I actually was one of 3 girls who like all the guys wanted to play football with because I was a football kid.
What's that football? The round ball?
Yeah, the soccer.
Yeah,
soccer.
the real game.
The
Yeah.
real ball. So I was one of those girls, and what happened was that I won't probably talk too much about what happened, but basically my mom started dating a guy who was my friend's stepdad, and it just caused this. I don't know what happened, but everyone started turning on me because now my mom has stolen her dad. So at the age of 12, I literally lost all of my friends overnight, and it was really tough. It was really tough, and also at the same time, everyone was starting to hit puberty. At the same time, I was the one getting braces. At the same time, I didn't have puberty, so I was still the stick with the like stripy hair and the braces, and so and then hormones starting to pump out. So there was like a bad timing for it to happen. But I was really alone. I literally had no one, and I didn't really know how it would turn out. But I changed school, but the bulliers changed to the same school, so I wasn't left alone.
Like, really?
Yeah. So until it fizzled out by the time I was probably 16. So, but it was a good
years.
It was a good 3 years when I didn't really have any friends, and they would really make fun out of me. And because I was a small person, we were going to a soccer school, which also meant like they loved tackling me, and they were really mean to me, like on the soccer field. And so I just really felt like I didn't fit in. I didn't have anyone, but I had one, and my best friend, who's my best friend today, she showed up in this magical time where I don't know who I would have been if I didn't have that one friend. So I just hung out with her. Like I hung on to her, like she was the savior. And I really think that she was in so many ways, because at that time my mother was so in love with this guy, so she couldn't recognize my pain because she was too in love. So yeah, it was a tough time, and it definitely has made an impact on why I chose what I do today, because I want to be there for anyone and everything. I've recognized myself as a pleaser, even though I worked on my pleasing mentality, because I'm pleasing myself first now. But by doing so, I'm actually allowing other women and men to start to please themselves. So I feel like my job is to help people actually turn inwards and start loving themselves. And you don't need people to start loving yourself. Like, in fact, I live out in the woods on my own. Maybe it's because I'm an introvert and I do well with being alone. But I don't know if I was an introvert before I was bullied. I actually don't know. I can't remember.
Really?
I can't remember actually. But I've become more and more of an introvert as the years gone on. And I don't see it as a negative. I just see it as it's just who I am. I'm a social introvert because I do like meeting people, but in moderation. But yeah, it definitely has played a role. Being bullied was not easy. It made me question my worth. And in that time, when you're like 12, you don't know better. You can't just proclaim yourself. Well, there are very few probably 12-year-olds that proclaim, I know who I am and I'm this. Maybe more these days, but back in those days, in like the 90s, it didn't really happen that way. The world was a small place at that point. We didn't have the internet. We couldn't turn to internet to find more friends. It came around that time, but yeah.
Do you know what? I was just thinking, it must have been so hard, like 3-4 years going through bullying. What I'm assuming almost every day.
Every school day, yeah, because either I was picked on or I was left alone.
And then weekends you'd have like, you'd get like a bit of a break and then it would all continue. So how do you keep going? So I know there's like nowadays there's a lot of kids that are getting bullied, and it's probably slightly different to when we were at school, and it's all to do with I guess like Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram, however they do it now. So how did you, I guess, just keep going, just show up like every day and keep going? How did you do that?
Well, I must probably give a lot of credit to my friend. I remember early days, and I don't know who, like what 12-year-old really does this, but we had just became friends. We were actually neighbors, but we didn't like each other beforehand. We actually didn't like each other. But then one day we started loving each other. We saw each other every day, like beyond, like without fail, every day, till we both went to like GCSEs or A levels or like college or whatever we call it, wherever it's in like people. We were about 17. We started that. So, and I remember we had just become friends, and she actually challenged her friends to not say bad things about me. And her friends wasn't even in my class. Like she wasn't in my class. That we were in the same school, but they were like, it started to spread over the whole school kind of thing. And it got worse because my older brother is 3 years older. So he graduated ninth grade when I was in 6th grade. So that first year I actually had people that cared for me. Like his friends were really kind. They would like help me where we can. They would support me. They would tell the boys to not be mean to me, like, these things. But when they graduated, I really didn't have anyone. But that I yeah. So, but I thank my friend. I was never in a way like suicidal. I was never like going in that route. I think I love life too much. Like for me, it didn't go that way. I don't remember it going that way anyway. As I said, I think I've suppressed a lot of my childhood for that reason, because I tend to not look back. I look forward, and maybe that's what kept me going. That I don't stay here. I move forward. I usually say I have the worst memory because I just spend so little time looking back that I'm like, I don't know. So I'm the one who looks forward most of the time, or spend time in now.
All right. And are you, like, when you say that you're an introvert, so your take on that, does that mean that, so I wouldn't say that I'm an introvert, I'd probably say that I'm an ambivert. So in social situations, I can, like turn up and do what I need to do. However, I recharge by being by myself. So I love to be by myself. I love my own company. And if I've got the opportunity of staying in and working or going out with friends, I would prefer to stay in and work. So is that are you similar or? Yeah,
for sure. I have this ambivalence in my body where I'm like, I love working. So that's probably the problem as well. When you found something that is like your fire, like I wake up and it's like the most exciting thing to get to work. It's like, it's not my hobby, because I don't think you can call what you do for a living as a hobby. I don't think that it's the right thing, because it's not. So I'm always in this place of, I kind of want to work, but I realized that you have to nurture relationships. You actually have to live life as well. So I do make time for it, definitely. But I've also spent a lot of my years in my life traveling, moving, finding new friends, having hobbies. Like I've done so many things. So I feel like in a way I've lived several lives, done all of that. So I'm now in a place where I'm like, I just want to keep my head down. I don't want to move. I just want to be here. I just want to work. I just want to actually put my effort into it. So, but yeah, I agree. But I do feel like I'll have to drag myself out. It's always like, oh, okay, I'll go out when my friend wants to go like rave or something. I'm like, I'll come. But then I'm like, a part of me is like, oh, for fuck's sake. I'm like, I want to go to bed at 10. But yeah, but I'll make it out, because I do, for me, one of my higher values is, you know, community, and being like showing up is a very big one for me. That you want to be there for the people you love, and part of that is to like get out of your comfort zone and just do what other people want to do as well.
Brilliant. Can you tell us about what you do for your clients? So body transformation, when we were talking, there's a spiritual side, and there's also the like the mental game as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what you do and how you help your clients?
Absolutely. It's been a long journey into becoming the coach that I am today, because I was very much identifying as the pure body transformation coach, because I was working for that company for 4.5 years. So I was identifying as such, like this hardcore masculine energy, beast mode, you know, drill sergeant kind of thing. But there was always a side of me who went to it. Well, it is not the way to long-term sustainable results where you feel great. The way that I coach people now is that I take a whole global approach. You know, it's body, mind, and soul. And what soul means to the individual, that's to the individual. But really, it's about connecting to who you are, what you want, and doing things out of self-love. Because I don't believe that we get long-lasting results where we feel good if we do it because we're punishing ourselves, because we don't love ourselves. If we attach our right to love ourselves in the future based on what we look like. So I believe that if we make choices from a place of like, I deserve that and I'm willing to work for it, like I'm willing to be disciplined because I know that I can do it, I deserve to be there, then it changes the game on how you feel throughout the journey. The actual scientific approach is the same. You have to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight. You have to, you know, focus on mostly clean food. There are like some scientific thing that actually still applies. We can't just change the rules for what fat loss is. But to make that permanent, we have to go mind. We have to change the associations with diets. We have to change how we feel about dieting. We have to change about how we feel in our body. We have to start to believe that we can. We have to start to actually build up our self-efficacy. And we only do so by actually recognizing that we are already capable and we are already deserving. And it's all for us if we're just willing to step into that place, an energy of, I'm doing this because I love myself. I'm doing this because I deserve it. Not because I hate myself, not because I'm worthless without it. Like, it changes the whole game if you're changing the perception of what it means and why you do it. So I work hard in my business, not because I am poor and because I am, you know, I come from this background because I feel bad about myself. I don't work hard on my business to feel like I'm building up my self-worth. I'm working on my business because I know that I'm capable. I know that if I work hard, I get to like reap the fruits of what it gives me so that I can help other people. So it doesn't add to my self-worth. Like, I am never more or less worthy, regardless of what's inside of me or outside of me. And that's kind of what I want the message to be. So I coach people in the scientific, I know biochemistry, physiology, like I know anatomy, and like all of these things I've studied because I'm a geek. But there is more to it. There is more to it because all of that, you don't apply it. Like, it's not like you can go down on a deep level of like what happens on a cellular level, but it's not rocket science to lose weight. Pretty much everyone in this world knows what they should be doing. So you don't have an information problem, you have an implementation problem.
Oh, I love that.
And that's where I come in and I go in and I help you look at the implementation problem, because there is parts of you that are stopping you. And those are the things you need to work on, because otherwise they're always going to come back. This is why people are having yo-yo either I'm dieting or I think about dieting. I'm dieting, or there is more to life than diets. Like, honestly, there is so much more to life than diets.
All right. So how do people get hold of you? What's the best way if they want to work with you or reach out to you?
Well, I think Instagram is probably the easiest way, or Facebook. Instagram is at Emily Anger, and Facebook I think is Emily Anger Bergstrom.
Yeah, we've got in the show notes as well.
The way that I take on people, it's an application process, because it's an intimate relationship we're building. We are building a relationship and a friendship, and so it's always about getting the people that actually are vibing at a similar level. Not like you don't have to feel great to jump on this, because a lot of people come from a place of lack and feeling bad. But it's like we together, you and I, need to have something that we are connected by, like an energy field that we feel like we are like we want to work together. So there is an application process, purely because I don't think I can help you if we don't have that energy together, like that connection. So there is like an application process, because I can't take on everyone, because I'm not the right coach for everyone. But if I am, then we will know so, because you will feel pulled to me when we have a chat. That's how I look at it.
Love that. Thank you. I was just thinking, like when I've seen some pictures of you, like you're in amazing shape. You've got like abs on abs on abs on abs on abs on abs. Like that's I know like the dedication, the commitment, and the consistency, and like the mental game that it takes to do that. So I just want to say a massive, huge congratulations for what you're doing, and also the clients that you're helping. So, very last question. So you know that I love dad jokes. I'm absolutely obsessed. Do you have a dad joke or something inspirational, like maybe a quote or something motivational, something empowering, something of value that you would like to leave us with?
Yeah, I mean, I wish, because I love the dad jokes. If I ever scroll on social media, I will be the memes. Like, I'll have memes and memes and memes. Like, oh, that's my vice, I think.
Wow. Snap. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't scroll too often, but when I do, I usually have one friend who like sends me memes. So I just have to look at our feeds. I don't have to like look for them. But anyway, I wish I had a dad joke, but I have another quote which it also made such a huge impact for me as a woman. Part of what I want to do is empower women. I love men, but I love seeing a woman take her space and become confident in herself. And so the quote that I want to share is by Eleanor Roosevelt. And she said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent."
I love that. Can you just say that one more time? One more time.
No one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
That's right. We are in control of our emotions. I'm going to ask you one more question. So you only work with women?
No.
Or... Okay, so...
I work with humans. I work with people who are ready to go through a transformation from a place where they actually want to never diet again. They want to actually transform. It's not another fad. It's not to get a quick fix into a ridiculous shape and demolish yourself. I speak to women because I feel more for women. Like I actually have a lot of male clients, but I feel more for women. And women are trickier to coach. And I feel like there are a lot of coaches who do a lot of disservice to women because they are trickier to coach, because hormones and such. So because I have the expertise in like physiology, what happens with hormones and all these things, I feel like I will do the world the best service by helping women. And I know that at some point I'll start transition in my hormones. And I know the suffering that a lot of women goes through entering menopause. And I want to help women prevent that. So that's why I choose women when I speak, when I market myself, because I feel like they need more help, because there are less capable coaches that actually looks deeper. So that's why I do it. But I work with men and women.
I love that. All right, so I lied. I've got one more question. I want to talk about, because you've been speaking about the, like being in your masculine energy when you've been around, like the guys at the gym. How do you like drop into your feminine energy, or how do you have that balance?
That's such a good question. And I struggled for a very long time. Bear in mind that I also have 2 brothers, and my mom did a super good job in never raising me like a girl. She didn't raise me like a boy either. She raised me like a child, which meant that I was never brought up being the girly girl. I've been accused to be a tomboy because I have a bit of like a rah rah rah, and because I like training, I like to do the guy stuff. I played soccer, like I did all of the boy stuff, like if we call them boy stuff. But how do I tap into my feminine? You know what? It's when I drop from my head into my heart. When I go out in nature and I actually look, even when I take a shower and I touch my own skin, when I'm more in my body, when I decide to be more in my present, I can be more in my feminine. I usually put my hand on my heart, like when I need to, I need to remind myself of who I am. So whenever I get a compliment or like I hear someone's story, like I put my hand on my heart because I feel like that's where my feminine is, in my heart.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then sometimes I put extra makeup on, and maybe I wash my hair, but that's if I feel extra feminine. No, but I think it's more of a for me it's the kinesthetic side of me. Like I'm a kinesthetic person, so if I can do kinesthetic things, I drop into my feminine. And when I am in my masculine, I get the task. I'm here. I'm getting it done. I move forward. So yeah, but I also tap into my feminine energy when I know I have to give tough love to my clients. Because
really? Okay.
Yeah, because I can't give tough love from a place of a masculine, because you wouldn't get the message as I want it to be. I think giving feedback is a skill that everyone needs to work on so much. Communication for me is it's one of my biggest nerdy things. I always try to improve my communication skills. But I know that if I step into too much of a masculine, I need the masculine to get confidence to go and do it. But as soon as I need to give feedback, I need to drop into my feminine, because otherwise I will probably trigger the other person. And I'm not here to trigger someone. I'm here to help you see what you don't see. So that's, I would say that.
I love that. Emily, I just want to say a massive, huge thank you to you. You are an absolute superstar, super legend, superhero. And personally, I just want to say thank you for a couple of weeks ago, giving up your time to just give me so much value and help me with my research, and just coming on here and being so open, vulnerable, and just spitting some fire and dropping knowledge bombs and some golden nuggets. So I appreciate you and I value you so much. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I forgot to say, you look buff in your tank. So you gave me a compliment, but you look good, man.
I haven't even been to the gym today. I haven't been working out. Appreciate it.
Yeah.